Welcome to the channel, where all you gotta do is put a dyno in your backyard. So a few months ago I made a quest to find a dyno shop in the Bay Area, and yeah, there's not very many. So it turns out there's a whole bunch of Smog Dynos, Craigslist, marketplace kind of places. So I bought one of them. So I found this one in San Jose, and it was in a automotive body shop, so they had no reason for it. It was like a closed down dyno shop, and they were tired of storing stuff on it and trying to push cars over it, so I got it pretty cheap. And the reason I bought it was nobody wanted to take it out of the ground, but the guy next door had a forklift that he said I could use, so that made it a kind of ultra sweet deal. It was pretty close to home, and there was a way to get it out of the ground. Turns out it wasn't even bolted in; it was just laying in that hole. But anyway, I'm not gonna do it like that. But safety third. And to control it, I'm gonna use this little blue box from yourdyno.com. I think these guys are in like Norway or something, some godforsaken country far, far away. Anyway, they appear to make nice stuff. I will let you know. This one didn't show up in the greatest of condition, but I think I can bend that back. I took pictures of it to make sure. But what this is power supply. So you put 240 volts into that, single phase power, and you get 0 to 200 volts DC out. And your pulse width modulation is there. So that loads up the eddy current dyno. And then this guy does a bunch of stuff for you. Put your engine RPM in there. We can just use the wheel speed on the dyno itself. And you got your load cell 1, load cell 2. I only have one. You can have a thermocouple. And then there's some auxiliary signals, which I'm going to use for some safety stuff. That dyno has a bunch of has cylinders to move up so you can drive on and off it, a bunch of stuff like that. I'll get into a little more later, but that's one of my next projects, because that thing's never been dynoed. This here thing is going to need a little bit of dyno work with the dual fuel system that's going on it. E85 in the auxiliary tank, and second set of injectors for that, and then main tank for gasoline. There it is. Appears to have been operated. It's an EC motor to calibrate speedometers, and belt drive. Eddy current absorbers are under there. There's a whole box of electronics. Oh, where did the warranty? Yeah, so I think all that stuff has to go bye-bye. So there's the wires for power in. That's 3-phase power to the motoring motor. That goes to the eddy current. That's the CAN communication. We'll need that. That goes to the load cell. There's a bearing temperature sensor on this to make sure you didn't do something stupid. This is a make sure that you have safety bumps on there so you can't fall off. It's the RPM signal. I'm not sure why there's another torque signal. That's the load cell. That's for the airbags, and that's for the cooling fan. So that's going to be a project I'm going to have to do here pretty soon. Get this all wired up, make sure it works sitting here on the trailer, and then we'll put it in the ground. It's already got a hole. So there's its hole. Put this RV pad in a few months ago. And while I was doing it, put me a hole. Specially sized. Don't mind my terrible cement work. It'll be fine. Still gotta finish this drain. Just about ready to go. So in order to make a schematic and hook all the wires up for this thing, I did some sleuthing around the internet, and I found this document, which is for the performance version of this dyno, but I looked at this pretty close, and I think it's exactly the same, except for it has more coils on the eddy current brake. Other than that, I think it's the same exact everything, which is good to know. So I've gone through this many times trying to figure out how to hook things up, but it has everything from how to replace stuff, how to adjust stuff, what belt you need. But it has a lot of schematics for how the load cell hooks up and all that junk. So super useful document. I don't know how I managed to find it, but I did. But essentially this is the control board. This is the bottom in the box. This is to the right hand side. So it tells you what all these things do. There's scales, so you can, this is meant to be a smog dyno, so you drive the car up, it figures out what the weight of the car is on that axle and then sets the appropriate loads. So yeah, you can see the connectors. It tells you which pin goes to what for each thing, and the useful ones I needed was a strain gauge. So X11 is a strain gauge, so I could go to those wires, go down to X11. That's 12 volts, that's signal plus, signal minus, and the ground. Done. That's all I need to know. Turns out the fan was harder to figure out because it's got a capacitor and parallel and stuff. Anyway, and that wasn't really documented well, but this is where I got all my information from. This and the dyno that I bought, which looked very unmolested. This is the power board, which does a couple things. Main power comes in here. The DC power from the eddy current goes there, and then this is a inverter. So it takes DC, it takes 220 single phase and makes it into 3-phase power for that motor, and that goes out there. So I'm not using this board. I'm using the two blue boxes and then a single phase to 3-phase inverter, which we'll get into that a little later. But anyway, this is a super helpful document. Goes into great detail about hex bits and stuff that I don't really need to know about, but all the mechanical stuff and all the wiring stuff is super helpful for me. Okay, so now that we have a schematic of sorts, I use this free program called TinyCAD, and it's not really CAD, it's made more for like wiring schematics and stuff like that. So if you want to make like it'll put these symbols in there for you, switches, resistors, right? All this stuff down here. Yeah. So it's put a 3-phase motor in there. Oop. There you go, 3-phase motor. And if you want to run a wire to it, you go boop, boop. Theoretically, that wire would go to something. And we'll put an op amp over there because I don't know why. There's an op amp, boop. And you can run a wire. So it's somewhat user-friendly, right? And then if you want to change the color of the wire or whatever, you can. So anyway, this is how this program works. 5-second tutorial. This is what I've come up with so far for the dyno. So this is the power supply. It's blue because it's in a blue box. This is instrumentation. And this is my inverter. This is just like a single-phase to three-phase inverter. This is the drive motor. So this is how the drive motor hooks up to the inverter. This is basically my three-phase power or single-phase power coming in. So this is hot, this is ground. And these are all the colors of the wires that I used. I just pulled them off hose rails, and so I can trace them easily. This is the USB going to the computer. This is basically the speed signal off the rollers. This one will go to the engine RPM through an inductive pickup. These are the eddy current dyno coils, essentially. So this one has 4 of them. And according to the manual, the Maho manual, they're, well, it tells me the max current and the max voltage. So I used Ohm's law to figure out they're about 40 ohms. And I measured this and it was 38. And if it's in this configuration, that's going to be about the same, right? Because there's 2 in series, 2 in parallel. So I'm not familiar, or I'm not sure if you're familiar with that equation, but basically this makes it, if you put them in this configuration, it's the same current, same resistance across it. This isn't really an electronics class, so I could go into more detail, but you could Google that. And then the fan motor, it's a single phase 115 volt motor, but it has this capacitor in there. Not sure why, probably for noise. So I just hooked up the same way as it was before. So this is by far not complete because I still need to put a bunch of, auxiliary stuff in here. But this is kind of what it looks like. Thanks for watching. If you like this content and want more, subscribe, like, and share.